Hi, Dr. Phil. I'm Dr. Lisa Bruce. A lot of times when people think about doctors, they think about someone with a private practice, a psychologist, or someone like Dr. Phil. But I'm a minister and an author. And one of the most embarrassing things for me is I've written 4 books and I've been paralyzed by fear, failing to introduce myself to the audience that I was so passionate to write these books for. Well, about a month ago, I ended up in the dollar store. Now, I have to say, I picked up one of your books. I really wasn't searching for it, but I would have to say it looked for me. There it was in the book section, and I only spent a whopping $1.08, Dr. Phil. I got more than my money's worth. Well, you devoted a whole chapter to fear, and I began to read that chapter with a passion, saying I have to come out of this. Dr. Phil must have wrote this section especially for me. There were 4 key elements that I took away from your book. There was one area where you said you had to stop and ask yourself some tough questions in order for you to continue this journey of success. One of the questions that you asked was, do I believe in myself enough to try something new? Well, I asked myself that question, and here I am. I'm trying something new, Dr. Phil. Well, the next thing that you said was the self-talk. You went into areas of self-talk where it could sabotage us, preventing us from reaching our goals or our talents or, even tapping into our gifts. And I said to myself, I've been talking to myself about a lot of different things. I've been saying, you can't, you won't, there's no way you can do this. And so I found myself in a self-defeating self-talk behavior. Well, the next area was definitely when you talked about being your authentic self, when you talked about moving into the core of your being, connecting with your gifts, your talents, your wisdom, your values. That was the area that I had to stop and pause in for a minute. Well, I thought about that, and I said, am I being authentic? Am I thinking about what's in me? Am I really authentically bringing that out? And I had to answer that question and say no. Anytime I'm sitting home paralyzed by fear and I'm not going out to engage the very audience that I was so passionate about writing for, then I have taken a back seat to being authentic to myself and authentic to my audience. The last area that you talked about, well, you talked about many areas, but for me, this was the last best area of all, where you said develop a plan of action. Act. Just don't sit back and let things expect for things to come your way, so to speak. You said get up, take an active approach. If you have to get someone to hold you accountable, do that, but act and then see it through. Well, Dr. Phil, I'm taking your advice. I started to put together a plan of action, and the first thing on my list was doing this video and seeing it through. So thank you so much, Dr. Phil, for your advice.